action for real men. Now that day it go begin work for you. Even when you don't finish the medicine, it go still dey work for you because why? He go arrange all your body to make you stand kakaraka like the real man wey you supposed to be. My man, no let another man play inside your beautiful garden. Oh, come collect your own Baba Fear God action for real men for better performance. Even though you don't reach 70 to 90 years, this action for real men, they good well for you. Come and see the reason why people they call us Baba Fear God for real men. Come this trade fair. Are they here? Before we start anything, we go first run test for you for your body. Locate that problem where it is. Come hammer around with Baba Fear God action for real men. Our testing are free. Oh. Man, use this opportunity well because delay self they dangerous.
I did for the ongoing trade fair where they happen for.
Baby, cannot touch. I see one girl for the corner with back. Pony in a woodies no like that.
Link up, wink and you sink and your wings up. This is Bitakua.
You don't capture my Ojuku with the money, what a membership. They don't care about us. If we live, if we die, if we eat, if we starve.
Na money killer we know. You need time and space.
Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News.
Hello and good evening. This is the World News on your premium talk radio, Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. I am Faustina Oputu. And the headlines. NIPOST reveals Nigerians to pay $80 duty on U.S. shipments. Rivers State verification exercise uncovers thousands of ghost workers and pensioners. Ogoni stakeholders demand protection of cleanup program. On the foreign scene, Trump moves to block $5 billion in foreign aid. Details in a moment. And now the details of the news. The Nigerian Postal Service, NIPOS, has announced that with effect from August 29, 2025, all postal shipments from Nigeria to the United States, except letters and documents, will attract a mandatory prepaid customs duty of $80 or its Naira equivalent. In a public notice to its customers, NIPOST explained that the new charges stem from a recent executive order signed by the government of the United States of America, suspending the minimis exemptions for all postal shipments globally. The directive, it said, was issued under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. According to NIPOST, the decision was by Washington applies to all designated postal operators worldwide and is not limited to Nigeria. The agency said the new measure will have far-reaching implications for Nigerians sending parcels and goods to families, friends and business partners in the U.S. It's one that global logistics operations were already adjusting to the policy, with airlines and cargo carriers adopting stricter protocols in handling shipments destined for America. NIPOST, however, assured customers that it was actively working with international partners to cushion the impact. The recent civil servants and pensioners verification exercise in Rivers State has revealed a significant reduction in the number of civil servants and retirees on the state's payroll. According to official figures, only 37,703 staff were verified as genuine employees, compared to a previous record of over 43,000 civil servants in the state. Similarly, the verification confirmed 19,186 pensioners against the earlier record of more than 25,500 retirees. This was disclosed by the sole administrator of River State, Ibokete Bas, during a meeting with the stakeholders, with the leadership of labor unions in the state at the government house. Ibas explained that 2,004 local government pensioners were verified out of more than 2,600, while about 8,000 local government staff were confirmed across 7 LGAs, including Obiakpo, Boni, Eche, and Degima. He gave a deadline of September 4, 2025 for the completion of all local government staff verification, assuring that all necessary state resources would be deployed to meet the target. The sole administrator, who reiterated his zero-tolerance stance on corruption, noted that while efforts are ongoing, only arrears for March 2025 have so far been cleared due to challenges with the verified records. He further disclosed that an overpayment of 117,000 was discovered in the March schedule, adding that the anomaly triggered an official investigation. The River State Independent Electoral Commission (RISEC) says all arrangements have been finalized for the conduct of the local government elections in the state tomorrow. In a broadcast on the eve of the elections, RISEC Chairman Michael Oji said the Commission had worked tirelessly over the past month to ensure that every aspect of the electoral process was planned in line with the 1999 Constitution as amended and the RISEC laws. Oji disclosed that both sensitive and non-sensitive election materials had been distributed to all local government areas under strict security supervision, while extensive training had been provided for all categories of electoral staff. He further noted that the Commission had engaged with all relevant stakeholders to ensure inclusivity, adding that the police and other security agencies had assured of adequate protection before, during, and after the elections. The RISEC chairman appealed to political parties, candidates and their supporters to maintain peace and abide by the law, just as he stressed that the choice of political representatives rests solely with the electorate, warning against violence, intimidation or any attempt to subvert the will of the people.
As amended, sensitive and non-sensitive materials have been distributed to all local government areas under strict security supervision. Training has been conducted for all categories of electoral staff. The voters register has been published and is ready for use. We have also engaged in broad consultations with political parties, civil society organizations, security agencies, and community stakeholders to ensure credibility and inclusivity. We have received assurances from the security agencies that adequate personnel have been deployed across the 23 local government areas to guarantee the safety of voters, election officials, and materials. I appeal to all political actors, candidates, and their supporters to conduct themselves peacefully and in accordance with the law.
They assured that RISEC would remain impartial, transparent, and professional in the discharge of its duties.
Tomorrow is your day. The legitimacy of government begins with your vote. I therefore urge you to come out early in an orderly manner with your permanent voters' cards to exercise your democratic right. Your vote is your voice. Let it count. I assure you that RISEC will remain impartial, transparent, and professional in discharging its mandate. We have put mechanisms in place to ensure that every vote counts and that the results declared reflect the genuine will of the people of Rivers State. Finally, let us remember that elections are not a do or die affair, but a contest of ideas and a process to strengthen our unity and development. Let us therefore rise above divisions and ensure that tomorrow is marked by peace.
Security agencies in Rivers State have staged a show of force in the state to reassure residents of their safety. The exercise, which took off from the Rivers State Police Command Headquarters on Moscow Road, Port Harcourt, featured a convoy of patrol vehicles from the Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Army, Nigeria Navy, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Federal Road Safety Corps, and other allied agencies. The joint team moved through major streets in Port Harcourt and Obiakpo local government areas, displaying operational readiness to maintain peace and order before, during and after the polls. The Rivers State Commissioner of Police, Olugbenga Adepoju, had earlier assured residents of adequate security arrangements for the elections. Adepoju stressed that the deployment of personnel and logistics was aimed at guaranteeing free and credible exercise. The Rivers State government has again sealed some medical facilities. Bristol Clinic and Maternity located at Rumodomaya, Obiakpo local government area, Adoration Hospital and Maternity Limited in Omagua, Ikwere LGA, Lucky Pharmacy also in Omagua, and Sosan Medical Center, Laboratory and School of Nursing located off Oporo Road in Obiakpo LGA over allegations of quackery. The chairman of the State Anti-Quackery Committee, Dr. Vincent Wachuku, disclosed this during a press briefing in Port Harcourt, where he explained that despite ongoing efforts by the government to eliminate quack practices in the health sector, such activities have continued. Dr. Wachuku, who also serves as the Director of Medical Services at the Rivers State Ministry of Health, said the committee had received reports of suspected quack operations from individuals, corporate bodies, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. The chairman of the Anti-Quackery Committee noted that last Friday, the Anti-Quackery Committee carried out an enforcement exercise during which several facilities were sealed for various offences.
Bristol Clinic and Maternity, run by one Mr. Kingsley Ugu, who obviously is a quack. This facility registration was revoked by the Rivers State Ministry of Health over a decade ago, but yet they carry out surgeries in a poorly equipped facility. It's been investigated, and the end of this investigation will be prosecuted. Adoration Hospital and Maternity Limited, located at Omagwan, it is a 3-room shoplet that runs both maternity and surgical services, including training of auxiliary nurses. There were no licensed medical personnel as at the time the committee visited that facility. Also visited one Lucky Pharmacy, Omagwan. This place is run by a patent medicine dealer, and he had left selling drugs into diagnosis and treatment. Visited one Sosan Medical Center. This one is located at Peace Estate, Oporo Road. This is an unregistered facility. It serves as a residential house and a medical center, and also as an NGO where they are also training nurses.
Dr. Machuku emphasized that quackery is not peculiar to River State, but assured that the government is committed to reducing its prevalence to the barest minimum. He reiterated that no religious body, NGO, private hospital, civil society organization, individual or company is authorized to carry out free medical care without approval of the Ministry of Health.
River State is doing their bit to ensure that the activities of quacks in this state is brought to its barest minimum. We will also want to use this medium to warn once more that no religious organization, no private hospital, no NGO, no civil society organization, no individual, not even a company is authorized to carry out any form of free medical care without an approval from the Ministry of Health through the Office of Director, Medical Services, River State Ministry of Health. We also want to use this medium to also warn some of our colleagues, and when I say colleagues, I mean health workers, to desist from some of their activities because some of them are aiding and abetting some of these things that are happening. You cannot imagine a doctor going to a maternity home to go and do surgery when primary health care center that is built and being run by government is not authorized to do surgeries.
And while the River State Contributory Health Protection Program, RIPCHIP, has urged residents of the state to take advantage of its health insurance initiative. RIPCHIP is aimed at reducing inequality, ensure access to good medical care for the poor, and laying a solid foundation for inclusive growth. The Executive Secretary of RIPCHIP, Dr. Vetty Agala, made the call. I'll brief you newsmen on the program's success over the last 7 months as she explained that the agency's core mandate is to provide financial risk protection for everyone living and working in the state while ensuring universal health coverage built on equity, quality and safety. Dr. Agala disclosed that under the leadership of retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Bass, the state government has funded the enrollment of 200,000 pensioners and vulnerable groups, including 2,500 inmates of the Port Harcourt Correctional Center, among others.
Under his leadership, the government has funded the enrollment of 20,000 pensioners and vulnerable groups, including 2,500 inmates at the Port Harcourt custodian or correctional centers. This validates the fact that health is a right, not a privilege, even for those in custodian centers. By enrolling pensioners, the administration is ensuring that those who served River State will not be left behind. This initiative is about protecting our pensioners, those who gave their best years to the service of River State. Health protection is their right.
The Executive Secretary of RIPCHIP further revealed that RIPCHIP is investing in a robust information communication technology ICT system, including a 24/7 call center to address residents' needs and an electronic claims management system for healthcare providers. According to her, the program's 7-month scorecard highlights significant achievements in expanding healthcare access across River State. To improve service delivery, Dr. Agala said the program is currently holding its second quarter data validation meeting with local government focal persons to ensure accurate health data for decision-making, and re-accreditation visits are ongoing in 204 primary healthcare facilities across the 23 local government areas of the state.
To improve service delivery, RIPCHIP is conducting, currently as we speak, the Quarter 2 data validation meeting for all our local government focal persons to ensure that accurate health data for decision making is available. Additionally, there is an ongoing re-accreditation visit of the 204 primary healthcare centers across the 23 local government areas of River State. This is being done in collaboration with the National Health Insurance Authority. We have plans.
You're listening to the World News on Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. After the break, more news, foreign and sports stories. Do stay tuned.
Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. Some concerned stakeholders from the 4 Ogoni local government areas of Rivers State have called on the Nigerian government and the international community to urgently safeguard the future of Ogoni land. The stakeholders, under the aegis of concerned Ogoni community stakeholders for peace building, environmental restoration and economic revitalization, stressed the need to protect the Ogoni cleanup program, the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project HYPREP, and the Ogoni Trust Fund, warning that Ogoni land must not be turned into a politically captured territory. Reading the position of the stakeholders, the president of Ogoni Brain Trust Foundation, Terry Mission Bagia, said the people reject what they described as an alleged imposition of leadership on the HYPREP board, stating that their priority is the protection of the Ogoni Trust Fund, which was established to finance the cleanup of the area. Mission Bagia noted that the Ogoni struggle has always been rooted in justice, insisting that women and youths must be given a meaningful role in decision-making, as he cautioned against what he called faceless groups allegedly working to destabilize HYPREP, discredit its progress, and target patriotic officers who are delivering the project's mandate.
The Ogoni Cleanup Program, HYPREP, and the Ogoni Trust Fund Incorporated, which greatly affect the future of our people, is a metaphor for the ultimate quest to ensure Ogoni land must not become a political captured project and trust. Our key concerns: rejection of imposed leadership on HYPREP boards. We categorically reject every attempt to impose unwanted or politically sponsored nominees into the HYPREP Governing Council and Board of Trustees. The Ogoni cleanup must not be hijacked by political elites. It must not be turned into a tool of political patronage. Safeguarding the Ogoni Trust Fund Incorporated. This fund was established to secure financing for the cleanup of our land.
Mission Bagia further demanded a transparent and accountable management structure that genuinely involves youths and community representatives, while also calling for the adoption of a government-backed roadmap for the development of Ogoni youths.
Accountable management involving genuine youth and community structures. Reject the culture of Ogoni elite entitlement mentality and ensure benefits go directly to the people of Ogoni. Immediate adoption of a deliberate government-backed roadmap for Ogoni youth development, empowerment, and inclusion of respected youth and grassroots stakeholders into leadership responsibilities at both regional and national levels, without subjecting them to perpetual slavery by self-driven and greedy political elites. Ensure inclusiveness of Ogoni intellectuals, diaspora experts, and community voices in the Federal University of Environment and Technology, FUET.
Also speaking, the global president of the Ogoni Youth Development Initiative, Mabe Xavier Oscar, and the president of the Eleme Youth Council, Walter Ejiri Laka, urged President Bola Tinubu to caution the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, against interfering in the affairs of Ogoni people. The youth leaders stressed that Ogoni oil is blood oil, insisting that any exploration must be done transparently and responsibly, as they vowed that the Ogoni people would never be reduced to slaves in their ancestral land.
HYPREP should be seen and known to be Ogoni struggle. I will never be allowed for a single individual that felt or feel he has captured Rivers State, or feel that because he has the power or the backing of Mr. President that he can capture the people of Ogoni and the Ogoni struggle. We say no to Nyesom Wike capturing, not with his intention to capture the people's project and the struggle of the Ogoni people. At this point in time, I want to inform and advise Mr. President to caution the youth of Ogoni, say no to any capturing or hijacking of HYPREP project.
We all know that Ogoni have been a slave cow in the hands of Nigerians. We are in plenty, but we are suffering. And this is the only open door. HYPREP is the roadmap to Ogoni people. And we put our mouth in a very strong position to say no to politicize HYPREP.
Moving on, some victims of alleged land grabbing in Rumekini community, Obiakpa local government area of Rivers State, have appealed to the state government and relevant stakeholders to urgently tackle the growing menace of land encroachment in the area. The protest, which began yesterday, has continued to gather momentum as more victims came forward to share their experiences and demand decisive government intervention. The victim said they had legitimately purchased lands from the Rumawecho family in Rumekini, but alleged they have faced persistent harassment and intimidation allegedly orchestrated by one Azubike. They lamented that the increase in cases of land grabbing and disputes were giving River State a negative reputation before potential investors, warning that the situation could escalate into intercommunal conflict if not urgently addressed.
Azubike Port vandalized my property to leave my land alone. He should bring back my property. I don't know where to start from. My money and everything I established there have been has taken into mud. I don't know where to start. I'm in Rumekini. I did along this airport road, Ada George, New Airport Road before OPM. And I came here this afternoon. I saw my fence and the building I rented there being vandalized to the mud. And I heard that the Azubike is in charge of the grading, that he's into land grabbing activity with security. They even chased me out of my land. Everything that I spend my hard-earned money on is on mud. I'm calling on the River State government, the security agencies, the federal parasite, those who are in charge of land issues should come to my aid. I'm dying.
I don't know. I bought 10 plots of land from Rumaucho community in Rumekini. All along, there have been no problem. All of a sudden, one Mr. Azubike, who is not even from River State, came from nowhere and started seizing all our lands. My fences, he brought them down. The house I built there, he brought it down. Please, can someone tell Mr. Azubike to stay away from land grabbing?
A fatal accident has claimed the life of a young man at Mpolu Junction along the Rumokoro axis of the East-West Road. Eyewitnesses said the victim, believed to be a Muslim, was on his way to the mosque when he was first knocked down by an SUV before being crushed by an oncoming truck that tore his stomach open. Today FM's Uchendu Ejowo, who was at the scene, reports that the incident triggered a protest as Muslim faithful stormed the road in anger over the death of their brother. The protest resulted in heavy traffic gridlock that stretched to the Mercyland axis of the East-West Road, forcing road users to seek alternative routes. It took the intervention of operatives of the Nigeria police to disperse the protesters and restore calm before the evacuation of the body. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has moved to block $5 billion of congressionally approved foreign aid. This was disclosed by the White House, raising the likelihood of a federal shutdown as Democrats oppose the policy. The Trump administration has effectively dismantled USAID, the chief U.S. foreign aid agency since taking office. Founded in 1961, as John F. Kennedy sought to leverage aid to win over the developing world in the Cold War, the USAID has been incorporated into the State Department after Secretary of State Marco Rubio slashed 85% of its programming. Trump, after taking office for the second time in January, launched a sweeping campaign to downsize or dismantle swathes of the U.S. government. Democrats have warned that any attempt to reverse funding already approved by Congress would end any negotiations to avoid budgetary paralysis, a shutdown after September 30. The U.S. says it will deny or revoke visas for Palestinian officials wishing to travel to New York next month to attend the UN General Assembly session. Secretary of State Marco Rubio blamed them for undermining peace efforts and for seeking the unilateral recognition of a conjectural Palestinian state. The decision is unusual. The U.S., as host country, is expected to facilitate travel for officials of all countries wishing to visit the UN headquarters. The ban comes as France spearheads international efforts to recognize a state of Palestine at the GA session. Donald Trump's administration has fully backed Israel in voicing opposition to such a move. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has constantly rejected the idea of a two-state solution, the long-time international formula to resolve the decades-old Israel-Palestinian conflict. To end the news, here's a summary of the major stories. NIPOST has revealed that Nigerians will now pay $80 duty on U.S. shipments. The recent River State verification exercise has uncovered thousands of ghost workers and pensioners under the state's payroll. You heard that Ogoni stakeholders have demanded the protection of the cleanup program. And on the foreign scene, we told you that U.S. President Donald Trump has moved to block $5 billion in foreign aid. And that's the news as edited by Ifunanya Obemendukwe. For comments and inquiries, please call 0818-389-2850 or send your emails to news@todayfmlive.com. You can also read our stories on www.todayfmlive.com. I am Faustina Uputu. Good evening and thank you for listening.
Today's news, today's entertainment, today's sports, today's issues. Today on Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
It's been an exciting week. It's been an awesome week. And just in case you missed out on our big stories this week, we got you covered. Rewind comes up every Saturday, 6:30 a.m. And here you get a total rundown of all the big stories and trends for the week in River State. And this is brought to you by your premium talk radio, Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. Rewind, 6:30 a.m. every Saturday. Don't miss it.
The station with the...
As the voice of the people, we make sure that no one misses out. On Today 95.1 FM, there's something for everyone.
Our tech show, because tech is new money. Our kids show, because we love the little ones.
Our Gospelration, because it's the moment of truth. Our High Life show, because high life is vintage.
Our sports show with the adrenaline. Our midnight show, because we care about your love life.
Our nostalgia drive, because old is gold. Our show for young people, because Gen Z code is on.
Our pidgin bit, because na Naija we dey. Our book review, because books are a mirror. Our big stories, because big things only.
Our health shows with seasoned health experts, because we care that you're healthy. Our eyewitness report, because we want to hear from you. Our reggae show, because Rastafari. One love. One love. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to pay a fine for an indictment? Then you later found out that there was an already established law to protect you from that penalty. Have you ever been denied a position because of your gender or disability? Have you ever been discriminated, treated unfairly, assaulted or cheated by your landlord, employer, tax collectors, bank, family, business partners, and the police? What if the breach between you and justice is just the right knowledge? I'm sure you've heard that knowledge is power. Join us every Saturday, 10 to 10:30 a.m. on Today 95.1 FM for the program The Law Today, to get acquainted with your legal rights and beneficial interests as a citizen of Nigeria. The Law Today, 10 to 10:30 a.m. every Saturday, is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
Hello and good evening once again. This is Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. And it's time again for a rundown of the foreign news stories that made the headlines on the world today. I am Faustina Uputu. In the headlines, South Africa prepares for its first historic G20 summit in Africa. Mexican president reviews 2026 World Cup preparations with FIFA. Thai court removes Prime Minister Patutang Shinawatra from office. 8 missing after Russian strikes on Kyiv. Now the news in details. South Africans are in preparations for the historic G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg, the first ever on African soil. The South Africa's G20 presidency is approaching its climax with 87 out of 132 G20 meetings across both Sharper and finance tracks already in the books. The remaining ministerial meetings in September will set the tone for the Johannesburg Leaders Declaration, anchored on solidarity, equality and sustainability. This agenda-driven framework aims to help set the global economic focus for the summit, and the key issues on the table include global inequality and sovereign debt burdens. To address this, President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched a G20 task force chaired by Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz to examine wealth disparities and propose actionable remedies. 7 migrants have been transferred from the United States to Rwanda in August under a deportation agreement with the U.S. Rwanda said earlier in August that it would accept up to 250 deportees from the U.S. A spokeswoman for the Rwandan government, Yolanda Makolo, said in a statement that the first group of 7 vetted migrants arrived in Rwanda in mid-August. Rwanda is one of 4 African countries that have reached deportation agreements with Washington and other countries, including Uganda, Eswatini, and South Sudan. Meanwhile, no information was provided about the identities of the deportees sent to Rwanda this month. Gambian crews on international trawlers fishing on the country's shores have become the accidental targets of local fishermen's anger, whose livelihoods are threatened by the foreign vessels' aggressive fishing strategies. Local fishermen, angered by what they call illegal encroachment and sabotage by the foreign vessels, confronted one of the boats that Egyptian-owned Abu Islam. They are now fighting Gambians at sea, driven by market forces and foreign appetites beyond their control. The problem came from attempted reforms giving locals more say and pay in commercial fishing, and the Gambia's government now requires foreign vessels operating offshore to carry a certain percentage of Gambian crew. 2 days after clashes between government forces and rebel fighters in South Sudan are raising fees for the country's fragile peace agreement. The Sudan People's Liberation Army in opposition, SPLA-IO, accused government forces of launching attacks on their fighters in western Equatoria and Upper Nile states. A spokesperson for the group said 1 rebel fighter and 2 soldiers were killed and a number of others wounded. The SPLA-IO said the attacks were a clear violation of the 2018 peace deal aimed at ending South Sudan's bloody civil war between the government of President Salva Kiir and forces loyal to his former deputy, Riek Machar. And tensions have been rising in the country since March, when the army launched a number of military operations on civilian populated areas, and reports of Ugandan forces supporting the army further heightened fears of renewed conflict. Away from Africa to the rest of the world. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has disclosed that 8 people are still unaccounted for after a Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv that killed at least 23 persons. The attack tore through apartment blocks in the early hours of yesterday in one of the most deadly strikes on the Ukrainian capital since Moscow launched its invasion in February 2022. Ukrainian police officers closed a road near the damaged buildings following a large-scale Russian drone and missile attacks in Kyiv amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Western leaders also condemned Russian President Vladimir Putin over the attack, saying it shows he is not serious about reaching a peace deal to end more than 3.5 years of war. Kyiv declared a day of mourning today in honor of the victims. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum met with FIFA chief Gianni Infantino to discuss preparations for the 2026 Football World Cup, which Mexico will co-host with the United States and Canada. Sheinbaum said the opening ceremony of the tournament will take place at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City on June 11, 2026. Infantino had already met last week with U.S. President Donald Trump, who announced the World Cup draw will be held on December 5 at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Infantino, who has fostered close ties with the billionaire U.S. president, brought the World Cup with him for the announcement and even let Trump get his hands on it. The tournament comes at a tense time for Mexico, the United States, and Canada, fueled by the Republican magnates' trade and tariff policies. The Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has voiced outrage over a porn site that allegedly featured doctored images of herself and other high-profile women alongside sexist and offensive captions and commentary. The forum, known as Fica, a name based on a slang term figa for the word vagina in Italian, was shut down by its own managers yesterday following a widespread backlash. The site, which had hundreds of thousands of subscribers at the time of its closure, blamed users for breaking its rules. Subscribers of the adult forum allegedly harvested images of women from social media websites or public sources before doctoring them and posting them along with misogynistic descriptions. Meloni said the site also allegedly featured images of her sister Ariana, who is a prominent politician within the Brothers of Italy party, as well as other Italian celebrities and politicians. And on to Venezuela, military exercises were underway as tensions with the United States continue over the deployment of warships to the Caribbean. The Venezuelan army was put through its paces, marching, shooting and blasting structures in the course of what the government called special revolutionary operations. And President Nicolas Maduro was there to watch alongside other top military and government officials. The U.S. has deployed 3 guided missile destroyers off Venezuela's territorial waters as President Trump turns to the military to combat the cartels he blames for the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into the United States. Meanwhile, Venezuela's government has been broadcasting military exercises on state television and mobilizing military assets nationwide. The Israeli military says it has begun the initial stages of its offensive in Gaza City as it declared the largest urban center in the besieged territory a combat zone, announcing the suspension of daily pauses in fighting there that allowed the entry of humanitarian aid. The announcement came as the Israeli military confirmed it suspended the so-called tactical pauses in its attacks on the city in northern Gaza that had previously allowed limited humanitarian operations there. The Israeli forces also launched a sustained bombardment on Gaza City since early August as the military prepares for a larger assault to seize Gaza's largest urban center in an operation that could forcibly displace 1 million Palestinians to concentration zones in southern Gaza. The Palestinian Ministry of Health told newsmen that the relentless bombardment from the air and land has forced residents to flee to the western parts of the city. Gaza's civil defense estimated that more than 1,000 residential buildings in the Zaytun and Sabra neighborhoods of Gaza City have been flattened since August 6, 2025. Protests have resumed in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, after the death of a motorcycle taxi driver hit by a police vehicle during a demonstration over a range of cost of living issues. Afan Kurniawan was killed yesterday after an armored police vehicle ran into him outside Indonesia's House of Representatives, as riot police were dispersing crowds who had gathered to demand higher wages, lower taxes, and the removal of allowances for politicians. Motorcycle taxi drivers gathered outside Jakarta Mobile Brigade Corps headquarters earlier today to protest against Kurniawan's death, and students urged protesters to rally later outside police headquarters in the capital city. President Prabowo Subianto called for calmness, expressing his condolences over the death of Kurniawan and ordered a thorough probe of the incident. The executive director of Amnesty International Indonesia added that the case of the motorbike taxi driver is just one of so many cases of excessive use of force by the police. Thailand's Constitutional Court has removed suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office after finding her guilty of ethical misconduct over a controversial phone call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. The ruling makes Paetongtarn the fifth Prime Minister to be stripped of office by Thai judges since 2008 and plunges the kingdom into political uncertainty and potentially a snap election. The nine-judge court, seen as tools of Thailand's royalist military establishment, ruled that a 39-year-old politician who had seriously violated the ethical standards required of a prime minister when she spoke to Hun Sen during an escalating border conflict between the two countries. The border dispute later spiraled into armed clashes that left dozens dead and tens of thousands displaced on both sides. The court, which had previously suspended Paetongtarn pending trial, said the politician had put her personal interest over those of the nation during her conversation with Hun Sen, feeling a loss of public trust and confidence in her leadership. The U.S. State Department is denying and revoking visas from members of the Palestinian Authority, PA, and the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, a significant step ahead of the UN General Assembly, where multiple traditional U.S. allies expected to recognize a Palestinian state. According to today's announcement from the State Department, the Palestinian Authority's mission to the UN will receive waivers per the UN headquarters agreement. However, the restrictions could prevent the attendance of Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and is likely to severely limit the Palestinian presence at the annual Global Summit as the war in Gaza continues and a number of key allies prepare to recognize a Palestinian state. In July, the State Department announced sanctions that would deny visas to the U.S. to unnamed PA and PLO officials. The move also appears to be a further step to punish those involved in international tribunals' probes of alleged crimes committed by Israel. The United States Senator Roger Wicker has told the island's president during a visit to the capital Taipei that Taiwan has the right to be free and preserve self-determination. Two senior Republican senators known for their strong advocacy on Taiwan arrived in the city earlier today to discuss security amid a rise in military threats from China. Wicker, chairman of the powerful Senate Armed Services Committee, and Senator Deb Fitcher, said their visit was to reinforce and re-emphasize the great partnership between the U.S. and Taiwan. Roger Wicker, a Republican, told Taiwan President William Lai Ching-te during a meeting at the presidential office in Taipei that understanding Taiwan's needs and concerns was their priority. The visit comes as the U.S. Senate is due to consider next week the National Defense Authorization Act, a nearly $1 trillion bill that sets policy for U.S. national defense. That story from the United States concludes tonight's edition of The World Today, as produced by Uloma Musu of the News Department. But before we go, here's a summary of the stories that made the headlines. South Africa is preparing for its first historic G20 summit in Africa. We told you that Mexican president is reviewing 2026 World Cup preparations with FIFA. You heard that Thai court has removed Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office. And finally, 8 missing after Russia's strike on Kyiv. Until same time next week, do have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for listening. I am Faustina Oputu.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Say no to the ordinary. Embrace the extraordinary, because we are the voice of the people. Voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM.
Hello, I'm Audrey Brown, and today in Focus on Africa, Nigeria is stopping the production of shea nuts in the short term to figure out how it can make more money from this valuable cosmetic product. In Malawi, a health boat provides life-saving access to proper care for people on a remote island on the lake, but it came too late for some.
My labor pain started in the middle of the night. Because it was dark, we had to wait until morning. We left the house at 4 a.m., arrived after 6. We paddled for hours, but by the time we arrived, it was too late. The baby was weak, and she died.
And why American teenagers are going crazy for African-made high school prom dresses. It's Friday, the 29th of August. First, we go to Nigeria. The country has just announced a 6-month ban on the export of raw shea nuts, the same nuts behind the shea butter used in lotions, lip balms, chocolate, and some medicines, to name just a few products. Here's why. Nigeria produces nearly 40% of the world's annual crop, making it the biggest player globally. Yet, Nigeria only captures about 1% of the $6.5 billion shea butter market. In 2023 alone, Nigeria topped production ahead of Mali, Burkina Faso, Benin, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Togo. How does this happen? It's the old story. The nuts are exported raw and processed elsewhere, and that is where the money is. It's the case with almost every single commodity pulled out of the earth in Africa. So the government wants to figure out a plan to change this. We'll hear if it can work, but let's hear first more about the substance that is ubiquitous in African markets, bedrooms, bathrooms, skins, but also cosmetics and medicines around the world.
Shea nut isn't just Nigeria's gold, it's Africa's global treasure. Picture this, a small brown grape-sized fruit with a hard seed inside. Crack it open, crush it, and out comes shea butter and oil. the creamy base behind your body lotion, lip balm, chocolate, animal feed, medicine, and even fertilizers. Here's the kicker though. Most of that work starts in the hands of women in rural communities across Africa. They gather the nuts, boil, dry, and pound them before they're sold and shipped abroad. The shea tree is a tough survivor. It grows wild across a vast stretch called the shea belt, from West to East Africa. It takes up to 15 years before the first nuts appear, but once mature, a single tree can keep producing for over 200 years. Beyond the seed, the pulp is eaten fresh. The shells become fuel, and the leftovers feed animals or enrich the soil. So when we talk about shea, it's not just about beauty creams. It's about a resilient African tree that powers livelihoods, traditions, and billion-dollar industries worldwide.
Let's talk about the plan now. How will it affect the women who pick and pound the nuts, the agents who process and then sell it, and how will the future of shea nut farming look after the 6-month halt? Ali Saidu is the MD and CEO of Salid Agriculture, home to Africa's largest shea butter processing facility. It is based in Niger State in the Sahel Belt. First, and I know this question stuck to your memory like shea butter to your skin, why is it that Nigeria earns just 1% of the $6.5 billion global revenue from shea, even though it produces 40% of all shea nuts?
When you look at statistics from the Food Agriculture Organization, but this is way back in 2012-13, it positioned Nigeria as the largest country that supplied the largest number of shea in the world. And it is not by accident, actually. The Sahel Savannah region is where Nigeria has a large portion of its land space. So meaning that of all the countries, Nigeria has the largest number of land space in that position. Due to the lack of processing of these kernels into butter, that was what pushed Nigeria to the bottom with respect to export for the shea butter, meaning that we produce the nuts, but we do not add value to them, and so would not now see the value.
So the government has decided on an export ban to encourage more shea butter production. So tell us how you see whether this will work or not and how it can work.
It's an opportunity for the country at large, and particularly the government, to work with stakeholders to see how we strategically develop the industry, the entire value chain, right from the woman that does the picking, the processing it into the kernels, producers like us that will do the shea butter, and then moving forward to even see how the butter is being refined, fractionated in Nigeria, and also develop some ingredients or commodities, for example, margarine, cooking oil out of shea butter, which could be sold in Nigeria as well. And this would not in any way disrupt the export potential of the shea butter business.
Because I'm thinking a 6-month ban on exports, won't that hurt the income of farmers and companies like yourselves?
For us in the industry, we refer to them as pickers against farmers, because like I said, these are trees, and then basically the women traditionally goes out to their farms, to the neighboring parklands, and collect this fruit on their way back home after their farming activities. At this point where the ban is coming, most of the activities for the women are almost over. For shea, the moment we're in the month of May, June, and the rain began to be steady, so the fruit will naturally fall from the trees, and then they are being collected. When you look at the other players who are the middlemen or some other commodity businesses that have decided to invest into aggregation, or some that are even interested or have already signed contracts for exports, with this ban, then it means those contracts would have to be reviewed. And because of what happened in the last season, when Burkina Faso and Mali began the ban of the export, a lot of international businesses have decided to come into Nigeria in this season to establish warehouses in order for them to aggregate and supply their sister plants within the West African coast and some in India for this. So the disruption is basically going to be on most of those guys. For us as processors, it is a positive move because we are already faced with the challenge of buying high-priced shea nuts.
Right.
With this ban, already we are seeing these other players that are in for the export trying to stop purchases. When that continues up to probably another week or so, prices will definitely crash. And then for us, it will be an opportunity to get low price. I'm optimistic about that, but not without some fears as well. Because if the guys suppliers decide to say, okay, let us smuggle this in out of Nigeria, then we would not see a significant crash in prices.
I was going to ask you whether people will actually comply with this ban. And because of the region where the shea nuts grow, it's easy to move it from one country into another, right?
Your concern is actually what has affected the figures, because most of the shea kernels in Nigeria traditionally had been slipping out to other neighboring countries by way of smuggling. That is why you can hardly have a statistics for the actual figures for the shea kernels being taken out of Nigeria. If the real strategy is not being developed as quickly as possible, people will decide to smuggle it out, and then we'll go back to where we were.
Let's talk about the women who are central to the collection of the nuts. What will this policy do to their life chances and their livelihoods?
When you look at the shea industry and the way we all are working right now, for us as a company which we use as a platform to support the women, improve on their collection, and then we support them through safety gears, through capacity building. We also introduce some form of education put together with entertainment for girls in order to address girls' child education challenge. So industries like mine would have to go back and initiate this kind of link with the women cooperatives, improving on their economic livelihood. When they do the quality kernels, we get the quality butter.
You see this ban as a turning point that finally makes you a big export earner, or do you think that there are still deeper structural changes that need to happen first?
Infrastructural changes are very, very important. I will still talk to you about Nigeria because this is an industry. For example, we at Salit today, we have to initiate a process of setting up solar plant to cater for our power need. That is a very huge infrastructural deficiency. Now, when you look at our local settings as well, where these people goes to collect the fruits, there are no road network in any way. For a country like Nigeria, the insecurity challenge is also affecting the supply and the activities of the women. The women are more afraid to go beyond just their farmlands, which before now they could walk 4 or 5 kilometers to collect fruits, but they are afraid of rape, they are afraid of kidnapping and the rest. I know it's a security challenge that also affects the business. Unfortunately, when it comes to funding, it is a bit difficult. So we need the government, with respect to financial development agencies, to come in and support us. But for us in Nigeria, I think power is a major challenge.
Ali Saidu, MD and CEO of Salid Agriculture in Nigeria. Chisi Island is very beautiful out there on Lake Malawi. It is also one of the most remote places in the country. So thousands of people living there don't have easy access to the mainland when they need to get there in a hurry, like during a medical emergency. The only way to and from the island is via a 2-hour-long trip on a fragile canoe in unpredictable waters. But all that changed in 2023 when the so-called boat of life arrived. It takes patients, especially expectant mothers, to emergency medical care on the mainland in about 20 minutes. This matters in Malawi, where maternal and infant mortality rates are among the highest in the world. The World Health Organization says the boat is literally a lifeline. The BBC's Anne Okumu traveled to Malawi to see how the scheme was working.
Chisi Island is one of the most remote places in Malawi. It's located in the southern part of Malawi in Zomba district, around 6 hours drive from the capital, Lilongwe. It has around 5 villages that surround it with approximately 6,000 people. It's very green and very beautiful when you get there. I think you feel like you're in a different part of the world, a different part of Malawi. So beautiful, so cool, and pockets of homesteads and villages on the island, and one main hospital that serves the 6,000 people that reside on the island.
And is that a hospital enough?
It's not enough per se. While speaking to the people, they said yes, they use the hospital for triages, for example, and small ailments like maybe headaches or maybe stomach aches, because now they don't have enough supplies, enough personnel, doctors who can take care of those 6,000 people. Then now they need to get to the mainland to get medical services, especially when there's women who are supposed to deliver. Now then there comes the problem they have to solve. On the island, we spoke to different women who have been helped, who have been assisted by the boat that has been introduced on Chisi Island. One of them is Mary Bonali, who had a difficult time when giving birth and had to wait for hours to go for sunrise so that they can use the boat.
My labor pain started in the middle of the night. Because it was dark, we had to wait until morning. We left the house at 4 a.m., arrived after 6. We paddled for hours, but by the time we arrived, it was too late. The baby was weak, and she died. Devastated by what I went through, from the moment the labor pain started to when we reached the hospital, I was in so much pain. There was no hospital here on the island back then. We had to go all the way to Likanga, but there was nothing I could do.
That's Mary Bwanali talking about a very scary time for her and a painful time as well. We should note, I think, that maternal and infant mortality rates are quite high in Malawi. So this is quite important that this boat can actually help women to survive childbirth. So this boat is called the Boat of Life. Just explain to us how it's made the difference.
The residents of Chisi Island call it the Boat of Life because it has made access to medical services very easy. So in a case where there is a patient that comes in, they get on the boat with the nurse who accompanies them to the mainland. And while they're on the boat, there are medical supplies on the boat. There is the personnel. And in case there is the first aid that needs to be given to a patient, the medical personnel on the boat there then does it for them. So it's well equipped. It has a personnel who accompanies and takes care of patients on the boat to the ride to the mainland. And when they get to the mainland now, the personnel then hands them over to the ambulance, which takes them then to the hospital, to Likanga Hospital on the mainland.
And then the boat goes back. Can it carry more than one person?
Yes, I would say it's a medium-sized boat. It can carry up to, we're told it can carry up to 7 patients at a go. It goes fast. It reduces the journey from 2 hours that was before when they were using the canoes, which they had to row for 2 hours to the mainland. It has reduced it now to 20 minutes or less to get to the mainland.
Whose idea was it?
The idea was birthed by community members, actually, who had talked to the district health officer to help residents of Chisi Island to get access to medical services. And then in turn, now the district health officers liaise with partners like UNICEF, who are the funders of this boat in question.
Is there only one boat?
Now there lies the problem with this boat. There's only one boat that serves up to 6,000 people. And the island has 5 villages that surrounds it. So in as much as they say it is a reprieve for them, but it's still not enough to serve people, especially in cases, for example, there is an emergency that has happened to like 6 people or 7 people at a go, then it has to move from one point to another. For example, one village to the next could be around 5 minutes ride from one village to another and then getting back to the island. So it is advantageous for them, yes, but it's still not enough for them. And the other problem they have also is the fuel bit. The catch is when you want to use this boat, you still have to fuel to get to that boat. And the people on Chisi Island are not that economically empowered. So it's still quite difficult for them also to afford that fuel. So it's a reprieve, yes, but there are other issues that need to be sorted, to be resolved for the people so that it makes it easier for them in the long run.
That was the BBC's Anne Okumu, who visited Chisi Island in Malawi. Princesses and African queens. That's how some American teenagers are describing themselves on prom night. You know, that big dress-up party they have at the end of high school before the tears or cheers of the results. They, like teenagers elsewhere, dress up in show-stopping gowns and dance the night away with their high school sweethearts. The reason why we're taking you there, though, is because the dresses many of the girls are wearing are made thousands of miles away by designers and seamstresses in Africa. What started as a few custom orders has now turned into a booming trend. From Miami to Memphis and all the way to Accra and Ibadan, we spoke to teenagers and designers driving this cross-continental fashion wave. Just this year, 5 African designers sold nearly 3,000 prom dresses to U.S. high schoolers. And it's not just teenagers with a direct link to Africa through family or heritage. It's teenagers who've seen it and love it, so they order it, and it is big business. Brianna Ledoux and Nyan Fisher are just 2 of thousands of American teenagers who recently went to their prom, rocking dresses made in Africa.
When I was looking up pictures on Pinterest, Instagram, and TikTok, all the dresses that I liked and I wanted, they were always from Nigerian designers. So I just decided to lower that search and just look primarily at Nigerian designers, which is the main reason why I decided to choose one. The beading, the style of the dress, the way it fits, the silhouette of like a woman's body that's just like mine. They design dresses for women that look like me.
Well, it was a very unique experience. So my mom had to help me do my own measurements through the WhatsApp video call, and they made sure that everything was perfect. Like, we had to be all up in the camera. Everyone was so amazed. They said it was very different, the fabric, how long it was, because my veil was very long, while it literally dragged across the floor when I walked. Everyone said I looked like a princess. It just was very like cultural and amazing.
So what is behind this trend? The Nigerian designer Shakirat Arikbabu should know. She's cashing in as the CEO of Kira's Fashion Cave.
I majorly make prom dresses, and I also make bridal wears and men clothing as well.
And how long have you been doing this?
For 10 years. I started 2015.
And did you sort of go to design school, or were you doing something else and suddenly this took your interest? How did it come about?
I started learning from a nearby shop. Then majority of the things I learned was from YouTube.
Ah, okay. You learned to sew from YouTube?
Yes, I learned to sew from YouTube. And as time goes on, and then when I employed workers, then I learned better along the way.
So how big is your operation now?
We have about 60 staff at the moment. We have a very big store, and we're also moving to another store in the next few weeks.
60 people working. That's big. Now, there are lots of people apparently that you're selling to in the US. How did that come about?
Majorly from online, from my Instagram page. Because of the kind of dresses I do, when I started posting online, people started reaching out. Once you make dress for somebody and they like it, they tell their friend, they tell others, and that's just how it came about. When I started getting those referrals and customers, then I worked on my brand myself by opening and launching a website. And from my website, I run ads and direct them to the US.
So how many dresses would you say you've sold so far to teenagers, especially prom dresses,
over the years?
Right? Over the years, yeah.
I can't say this number, but over the years, I should say that I've been able to make over 4,000 prom dresses so far every year.
4,000 in how many years? In 10 years or less than that?
That's less than that. I started 10 years ago, but I started making prom dresses 7 years ago.
4,000, that's a lot of dresses. And what is it about your style that attracts people? What sorts of dresses do you make?
We usually have different and varieties of prom dresses available. I think that is the first important thing about my brand. And even when we don't have a particular option available, we also accept customized dresses. And the second thing is that our dresses are quite affordable. When you have affordable dresses and it also gives you what you want, then it's a go for people.
And how much would your most elaborate dress cost, for instance, and how much would one of the less expensive ones cost?
Usual prom dresses, depending on the kind of fabrics that we use, between $300 to $1,000. When you want customized dresses, or maybe they are highly embellished luxury dresses, between $1,000 to $2,000.
So when you started seeing orders streaming in from the US, what was your reaction?
Well, happy, fulfilled, satisfied, because I've always worked towards it. When I started having orders from US some years ago to just like very few, and definitely if you work on your business and your branding over the years, the volume of the orders increase over time. I always prepare myself ahead and plan ahead of the following year.
Tell me this, are these students that are ordering prom dresses from you specifically in Nigeria, are they Nigerian teenagers who live in the US, or are they just people in general?
They're just people in general. I don't even really think I have Nigerians in the US that buy our products. The majority of people that buy our products have Americans or African Americans over there.
We have a clip from a young woman saying that she loves the silhouette and she loves the fact that the dress was made for somebody that's built like her. What does she mean, built like her?
Unlike other websites whereby you have to choose a particular size of dress and then the dress comes in that exact size, for us, we always tailor dresses to exact measurements. So even when you've chosen a size on our website, we reach out to you. We schedule a virtual measurements whereby we take your measurement online to get your exact measurements, because we don't believe in sizing. People's body types differ, so we always make sure to make a dress to fit your exact size. Everything is based on every customer's preference.
Right.
If that's what you want, then we'll make it for you.
Shakirat Arikbabu, CEO, of Kira's Fashion Cave. Focus on Africa was delicately stitched together by Makwechi Okafo and Ayuba Ilya in Lagos. Alfonso Daniels, Stefania Okereke, and Yvette Twagira Maria beavered away here in London. Madina Maishanu was in Abuja. Paul Bachbinga was the senior producer. Technical producer was Francesca Dunn. Our editors are Mariam Abdallah, Andre Lombard, and Alice Mudengi. I am Audrey Brown, and we'll talk again next time.
This is your premium talk radio. Today, 95.1 FM.
Stay informed, stay ahead. Tune in to Today 95.1 FM for the latest news, insightful talk, and exciting sports updates. Your trusted source for everything you need to know. Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Say no to the ordinary. Embrace the extraordinary, because we are the voice of the people. Voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
What's a successful business without sales? And what is sales without an audience? Well, do you know that you can reach 8 million listeners across 6 states in 2 geopolitical zones all at once? How? With Today 95.1 FM, you can get millions of people to know about your business. And what does that mean to you? More sales. Call 081 389 2850 now for more information.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
What's a successful business without sales? And what is sales without an audience? Well, do you know that you can reach 8 million listeners across 6 states in 2 geopolitical zones all at once? How? With Today 95.1 FM, you can get millions of people to know about your business. And what does that mean to you? More sales. Call 081 389 2850 now for more information.